back to the Melanin Initiative podcast. I'm Dr. Kimberly Madison, a doctorally prepared nurse practitioner and one of your co-hosts here, along with Alicia and Geraldine, who send their love in their absence. We're a health literacy podcast. When we say health literacy, we're talking about your ability to understand information, to obtain that information, and then to utilize it to manage your health and advocate for others. It's our hope that by watching on YouTube, LinkedIn, or any of your favorite podcast apps, that you'll feel empowered to ask questions. And together, we'll be able to help you get better outcomes. We have two missions here. One is to promote that health literacy, to make it easier for you to understand what's going on. Number two, to elevate the expertise of nurses, to bring awareness to all the diverse career opportunities in healthcare besides being a nurse and a doctor, and then to let all of our peers know all the different ways that you can leverage your expertise as a clinician taking care of patients to also become an entrepreneur. Today, we're continuing a conversation that I started last week with Jean Fletcher. She is a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner who takes care of pediatric patients at Children's Hospital in Washington, D.C. She's also the guest star of our newest series, Becoming Nurse Practitioner Entrepreneur, where she's taking us through her journey as one of the students of Duke University's Nurse Practitioner Entrepreneur program. Now, through that journey, she has shared with us her story with her son, Julian, who passed away from lung cancer as a non-smoker in his 20s. As you can imagine, it's a topic that's very close to her heart, and she's very passionate about it. And we've actually never covered lung cancer on the show. And in particular, when we talk about lung cancer, particularly with the public, and even honestly amongst those of us who practice, we really focus so much on those who smoke. And we know for a fact that you don't have to be a smoker to get lung cancer. So we started that conversation last week. We're going to continue that, as well as bringing awareness to the importance of pediatric grief, something that often goes unnoticed, underdiagnosed, and of course, untreated. Remember, this conversation is for educational purposes only. The opinions expressed here are our opinions alone. They are not a representation of any of our affiliations. If you think you might be experiencing a medical emergency, you seek medical attention and medical guidance from your healthcare provider. If you or someone you know might be having a physical emergency, you should call 911. If you or someone you know might be having a mental health emergency, you can call 988 or text 741-741. Now, let's get back to my conversation with Jean. Now, let's talk about nutrition and integrative medicine, starting with what we eat. Now, a narrative review published in Healthcare in 2022 looked at multiple studies and found that people who eat lots of vitamins C and E cut their lung cancer risk by more than half. And a narrative review published in International Journal of Molecular Science in 2025 confirmed that Black Americans have the highest lung cancer death rates. And now this largely has to do with unequal access to a nutritious diet is one of the factors driving that. Eating for your lungs is not a luxury. Load your plate with leafy greens, citrus, foods high in antioxidants. Your lungs are reading every meal. You know what I tell my patients to make it easy? Just eat the rainbow. If your plate has all the colors, you're probably doing the right thing. And if you want to take a picture, you probably have all the things on there. Because telling you 2 grams of this, these milligrams, this milliliters, no, I can't even tell you what 2 grams looks like if I'm just looking at your plate.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I just walk into your room and I see your food, I don't know that that's 2 grams.
Yeah.
You know, so let's just make it easy for people and just eat the rainbow.
Yeah. And I can tell you that our dietary habits have changed dramatically. When Julian was diagnosed, we really made dietary changes in the household. And, we were like making sure that he got the best of everything. And if, I pride myself, I provided healthy meals for my family. My mother was she was an educator who taught nutrition in schools in Philadelphia. And so I knew all about nutrition, healthy nutrition. And, that's one thing I was very proud of what I was doing for my family. And, but we definitely made some more changes after his diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
And, when someone is going through cancer, at some point, you just hope they can eat something.
Yeah.
So of course, all of that went out the window, and it was just like, whatever you enjoy, just go and eat it and enjoy it. But, we were trying to do everything we could to make sure he was getting the best of the best.
And he did. And my mother did the same thing, focusing on her nutrition. She became she still practices a lot of this, even like not drinking out of plastic anymore. Like she really did her research and continued to do that.
Mhm.
And we see that amongst a lot of professionals. I know in all the information that her oncology team gave her, it focused a lot on the nutrition. And,
Mhm.
like I said, we're introducing integrative practice, Eastern medicine to the show. And it's not to say one is better than the other. It's saying, here are all your choices. Here's
Yes.
a holistic view of your problem and the solutions. Yes, you've agreed to chemo, you've agreed to radiation, and you've agreed to surgery. And when you're at home, you can agree to going in the kitchen, eating the rainbow, getting your steps in every day, drinking more fluids, eating these certain foods, taking in these different herbs. You can do both things,
Yes.
and I think a lot of times in our community, and we've had some very public examples of this where people have foregone the Western model completely and only use the Eastern practice. And we've seen some really poor outcomes. And there's really good outcomes too. I don't think maybe they don't get enough attention. But that's why we're doing this and telling you about the data and where you can get this information so that you can have a little bit more trust when you agree to those different procedures, but also do what is in your control.
Yeah.
Learn more, get the research, look at your plate. Because I can't tell you how many times I've had patients, major heart surgery, and their families bringing pizza and burgers and fries and chips and soda. There's a huge disconnect
Yeah.
between why your loved one is here, why they're not getting discharged today, and what you just brought them.
Yes.
There's no connection. They don't understand at all. And everyone looks the same. Everyone rolled into the room. Everyone's overweight. Everyone's blood pressure is high. They all look stressed. Somebody smells like smoke because they smoked before they came into the room. Everyone. It's all of us can benefit from that. Not just my personal family, our family as the community. We have to take care of each other.
We have to take care of each other, and nutrition is medicine.
Yes, plant medicine.
Yes, it really is.
Now, for those of you drawn to plant medicine, like myself, there's lots of evidence. Is there enough? No. There could be more, absolutely. Now, the truth is, when it comes to research, it has to be funded. I mean, someone has to pay for it. And in America, where we're a capitalist society, it doesn't make as much money as pharmaceuticals or surgery. So they're not going to pay for it. But if nursing wants to get behind it, then we'll have more data. One thing I know is that when I go to certain conferences, they always say there's not enough data. And that's the end of the sentence. They don't talk about why there's not enough data, how they're putting together a research team to get more data. That's just it. There's just not enough data. But in the other room, they're talking about all the data that exists. I just want you two to talk to each other, so we can get more data, get more answers, and take what we do have and make better decisions. So for the plant medicine folks, a narrative review looked at 664 clinical trials. That's a lot. 4,000 patients, and found that taking Chinese herbal medicines alongside targeted cancer pills, so they took their chemotherapy medication, significantly improved survival at 1 and 2 years. That's 64. That's a lot. Now, the action item isn't to go and grab herbs on your own. It's to have a conversation. That's what we're doing here, teaching you how to have a conversation, even when it's hard, even when it's tough, and who you can have those conversations with. We want you to have it with your care provider about integrative options and ask what is safe. Plant medicine is real medicine. It has real side effects. We use plants to make medicines. So you do need to talk to someone who is well informed and educated, or find someone who is.
We were really, fortunate. We had people in our family that, loved and cared about Julian. His god sister taught him, told him about Dr. Sebi, and, we were getting a lot of positive information regarding plant medicine and healthy eating. It was nice. It was nice. It was overwhelming at times
Yeah,
because,
absolutely.
everybody wants to
Help.
help, and it became overwhelming at times. But
Yeah.
we all felt blessed and supported.
That's good. What would make it less overwhelming, do you think? Now you can kind of look back and give advice to someone who's in that position right now.
I think that's a good question because everyone had excellent intentions. No one had, there were no bad intentions, but I hate to say this, but I really thank God that COVID happened
Yeah.
because it allowed people to stop coming through the house to
Mm.
provide their beliefs and their what they thought we needed to do. I think people, like I said, people had great intentions, but just being mindful, like maybe ask if they can share the information versus,
Mm.
just
Giving out free advice.
yeah, yeah. It was a bit much at times.
And I'm going to take some of my experience from being at the bedside. Maybe you designate one family member who like can manage all of that. That's what we do at the hospital. You have 10 people. We're not talking to all 10 people on the phone. Pick
Yeah,
one person. We talk to them. They go back and talk to all 10 of you guys.
yeah.
So
And you
maybe
know
that's
what?
an option.
Everyone will joke and say, but my daughter she was that person. She kind
Okay.
of helped manage a lot.
Mm,
She was our manager. She really
okay.
was. I really value what my daughter had done for us because she got us organized. She got a whiteboard for the kitchen and had all of my son's appointments scheduled. She kind of helped filter out phone calls and other things, and
Mm,
she was the manager. And it's
yeah.
amazing how family comes together and how our roles, came to be the way they did. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah, and I imagine that might have helped her through her own processing her own emotions at that time, especially if she's an organizer,
Yeah.
right? To be able to like do what's in her, take over what's in her control, and really hyper focus on that. That's her little brother. Even when
Yes.
I think about stuff like that happening
That
in my
was
life.
her older brother. They're 2 years apart, and he's older.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
yeah.
So,
Mhm.
but
That
that's still
was big
close.
brother. Yeah,
That's very close.
yeah,
And,
yeah,
when I think about my brother, it just gets me. So,
yeah,
I can only imagine, how that was helping her, but also how, you know, the manager also needs a little bit of TLC too.
absolutely, absolutely.
So let's look, more at this pediatric grief and talk about Destiny's little brother. Like I said, he's 10 years old, his mother just died, and the research tells us exactly what is at risk for him if no one gives him the tools, which most of the time we don't. So, tell us what you know about pediatric grief.
Well, I can share with we have something called the bereavement model, and this shows you I can tell you in DC, 1 in 11 youth have experienced bereavement, and that's either with the loss of a parent or a sibling,
Mm,
which that's pretty high, and I think that's pretty average across the nation. So you're talking I think I said 1 in 11, but I think Maryland is 1 in 9.
mm,
And so that's a lot of young people losing, a parent or a sibling.
mhm,
And, unfortunately, it's very difficult. Most kids do not receive the support or the space to process their grief. And then they suffer secondary losses, and that could be, having to move from their home and move in with their grandparents or, you know, move into a different school. These are considered secondary losses that occur
mm,
to the primary loss. And, because of this can cause a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, a lot of different mood issues can occur. And we know that there's, a significant greater number of depression and anxiety, substance use in youth who have experienced loss, particularly loss of a parent or, someone who raised them, or a sibling.
Yeah, and, the reasons for the loss can vary. Certainly in the DMV, we think gun violence is a cause. Of course, we're talking about a medical condition, but also, the military. Especially, I grew up in a military family, and throughout, the time that I lived on base, lots of my classmates, they lost parents, especially during the war. And
Mm,
so, when you mentioned 1 in 9, even 1 in 11, I don't know how many kids are in a classroom anymore, but at least sounds like at least 2,
that's
right?
right. That's
Yeah.
right.
And
Yeah.
that teacher, what education did they get to teachers are just like nurses. You're not just the teacher, you're the counselor, you're the social worker, the therapist. everything, and you don't always get the support for that.
Right. And most children are not gonna come out and say, "I'm sad because I lost my mother," it
Mhm.
may come out as anger.
Mhm.
It comes
Oh,
out
absolutely,
just
absolutely.
in different ways,
Mhm.
and grief, with children, it's not as adults, grief can come and go. It comes in waves as well, that's with everyone, but with children, they can laugh and they can play, they can have a good time,
Mhm.
and the next thing you know, they're crying.
Mm.
So it just, it's something that is not addressed very well.
Yeah, and when you talk about secondary losses, I also think about that other parent, particularly if they don't know how to manage their grief, their personality can change, their own anxiety or depression might take them out of the daily routine that they used to be a part of, and, they become a little bit recluse, and so they kinda lose 2 parents at once, even
Yes.
though they might still physically be in the home.
That is that is a great point, and it's really true, and I think that's why I would love to see us do better,
Mm,
acknowledging grief, because sometimes that parent may feel isolated,
yeah.
that they're doing the best that they can to raise their child, but they're mourning the loss of their spouse, or someone that was significant to them as well, and so what we tend to do is suppress our grief or avoid it so we can get through by trying to help, continue and raise our kids as if something didn't happen.
Yeah, and if you were that kid and you never got the tools, and then you become your own parent, and then your kids go through that, that can be very triggering. And of
Yeah,
course, you never had the tools to begin with to help your own kids process the grief, and that's something grief, and that's why another generational thing we pass on.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's
But
true.
hopefully we're changing some of that with this conversation. Now, the numbers back up everything you just said. In a cross-sectional study published in Frontiers in Pediatrics in 2021, they looked at 34 pediatric intensive care, this is the ICU, across 18 countries. Now, hospitals in lower income settings scored a 12.5 out of 100 on having, this is very low, this is, you failed, okay, on having grief professionals available compared to higher income countries where it was almost 50%. That's huge disparity. Now, the families who need the most support have the least access. And we see this again when 92 parents of children who had died from cancer, 86 out of 100 had severe grief. That's
Mm,
pretty much the whole group. 66 out of 100 showed signs of major depression. That's more than 50%.
yeah.
And money problems, which come up, right? Funerals, visits, everything costs money, made that severe grief 11 times worse. Did you guys have any of that?
Oof. Which part?
The financial strain.
After Julian?
Yeah, just with all his
You know what? Um, I'm sorry, just hearing the statistics is upsetting.
mm,
It really
mhm,
bothers me when I hear it. It
mhm,
hurts my heart to know that so many people are suffering, but,
mhm,
you know, the support that we received was just unreal. I told you I went to Hampton University. Our Hampton family, they
mhm,
literally poured into us. I think somebody set up, help, support our family for Julian. And prior to Julian passing, Julian was he was a creative, and he had an organization that he helped create, and, he actually did a fundraiser, um, and it was so well attended, that he utilized that money. It was for his healthcare. So we had that as well. So my son, he did different things. So, yeah, I tell you what, the finances, I couldn't believe. It's definitely an expense that you don't plan for, you know. Um, yeah, it was overwhelming.
yeah. Were there any resources financially available that were presented to you guys?
No.
Okay.
Look, in terms of, I'm sorry.
Like how to pay for things. Like I know even when my mom went through breast cancer, like they have groups that help you get wigs and get makeup and things like that. And even like St. Jude's, for instance, which pays for everything. Those
Okay.
kind
What I can tell you is at hospital center, they were very tremendous. The social worker, they were very tremendous. Because Julian was 25 when he was diagnosed, and that meant he was coming off our insurance when he turned 26. He was diagnosed in March of 2019. He turned 26 in May of 2019. So that was something that they had to help him with. And so yes, they did help provide some resources and things of that nature,
Mhm.
but I think it was bigger. Our family and our community was very supportive.
Mm. So I looked at another study of hospitals that care for very sick children, like Children's, like St. Jude's, and one of them really stood out. They had care teams that showed that they must honor the specific cultural and religious beliefs of diverse families as a clinical standard. Destiny's family needed that, and your family needed that. Now, for our nurses, another study showed that over 200 pediatric intensive care nurses, it found that they needed protected time and emotional support to work to heal after patients pass away. We talk about patient grief. We do not talk nearly enough about what nurses carry home. Jean, what do you want every nurse listening to know right now?
That it's okay to seek out grief counseling. I recommend it. Talk to one another. I think having a space where after you lose a patient, to be able to honor that patient and the love and the care and the support that you all provided that patient is so important, and acknowledging their life because, it's so important to be able to honor that, love that person that you cared for very well, because the care that my son received was just amazing. And, it has an impact, and we can't go home pretending that this patient didn't have an impact on our life, because we know patients impact our lives every day.
Absolutely. So I want to talk to every nurse listening right now. And I repeat what Jean says. What you carry after a patient dies, the weight of that, the way you move to the next room, the way you drive home. This is called vicarious trauma. It is a documented real clinical phenomena. We dedicated a whole episode to it with Kirby Williams, who's a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. She sees patients in Richmond, Virginia, and she's one of the co-founders of the Society of Psychiatric Mental Health Nurse Practitioners of Color. And she's one of our most viewed guests, actually, of 2025. Now, she's been working in this space for over a decade, and she told us that mental health providers and emergency room professionals are the two highest risk groups for vicarious trauma. Not because they're weak, but because they are doing the most emotionally exposed work. And she said something that I want you to take away. When someone dismisses what you are feeling and said that it's just part of the job, they are not the wrong answer. They are just not the right person. Go find the right person. We'll have that episode linked in the show notes. If you have not watched it, watch it this week. And if you have a colleague who has been white knuckling it through grief and loss at the bedside, we want you to send it to them too.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah. Now, let's talk to our employers, right? Because the nurse needs your help on what you can do. Now, the research is clear. Nurses need protected time and emotional support to heal after loss. That's not a wellness perk. That is a staffing and retention strategy. And I want to connect this directly to the episode with Dr. Anthony Young, who's building his new business around the gap between what clinicians know about end-of-life care and what we actually are never trained to do. His education program is being built for providers, caregivers, and health organizations. It's exactly the kind of resource that a hospital unit, a hospital organization, or a long-term care facility can purchase and bring directly to your staff. It's not a 1-hour lunch and learn that nobody remembers. It's not a pamphlet. It's a structured program designed by a nurse practitioner who spent over 2 decades in oncology, hospice, and palliative care, and who knows exactly what it costs a provider to carry grief They were never given tools to process. So if you're a nurse manager, a director of nursing, a chief nursing officer, or a healthcare entrepreneur, and you're building a workplace wellness offering, reach out to Dr. Young on LinkedIn. His information will be in the show notes as well as his episode. Purchasing and implementing his program inside your organization is one of the most direct things an employer can do to close the gap between what we ask nurses to witness and what we give them to recover. So, what is a healing environment? What would a healing environment have a look like, either where you work now or what you needed at the time?
I think a healing environment, I think a nice space. I would like to call it a space to breathe because that always symbolizes my son. He created music. One song is titled "A Space to Breathe," and
Mm,
how we underestimate the value of breathing. So I think being able to create a space where a person can go ahead and sit down, a dim lighted environment where they can just take a deep breath, do some deep breathing exercises, and relax for a few minutes. I think that's really important. I remember returning back to work, and my workplace was tremendous. They gave me a lot of space before I was able to return back to work. I was
mm,
able to do telemedicine for a little bit before I came back to work. And I just remember it was not it was not very conducive initially. I can
mm,
tell you that.
mm,
Tried to pretend like everything was okay, but it wasn't okay. And I literally had a moment where I broke down in the break room and just sobbed because I was seeing patients and I had a patient that had a cough and it just triggered
mm,
something in me. So, being able to prepare the environment for people who have lost loved ones and
mm, mm,
even for as caregivers, as nurses taking care of our patients, we should have a space where we're able to decompress and take some deep breaths to get ourselves back on track.
A heart attack does not always look like the movies. It does not always come with someone clutching their chest and falling to the floor, especially not in women, and especially not in Black and brown women. Here are the signs: chest discomfort, pressure, squeezing, fullness, or pain that lasts more than a few minutes or goes away and comes back. Discomfort in the upper body, one or both arms, the back, the neck, the jaw, or the stomach. Shortness of breath with or without chest discomfort. And other signs that women more commonly experience include nausea, lightheadedness, and unusual fatigue that comes on suddenly and feels different from normal tiredness. Women are more likely than men to have a heart attack without classic chest pain, and research shows that women's symptoms are more likely to be dismissed by care teams and by themselves. Do not dismiss yours. If you think something is wrong with your heart, call 911. Do not drive yourself to the hospital. Do not wait for symptoms to pass. Aspirin may help if you are not allergic, but call 911 first. Know the signs, trust your body, act fast. This message is brought to you by the Melanin Initiative podcast, where we simplify health information so you can advocate for yourself and the people you love. Find us on Apple and Spotify.
I agree. There was actually a study in the Palliative and Supportive Care Journal last year. They asked over 65 healthcare workers, and 95 out of 100 said that they needed an opportunity to honor their patients and process their own grief.
Yes.
So the staff is already asking for it.
Yes. Yep.
Right?
I believe it.
Yeah. And Dr. Young is one of those people who has created an opportunity.
Thank
Now,
you, Dr. Young. Thank you.
yeah. Now for entrepreneurs, right? Because sometimes you can move a little bit quicker than a big healthcare organization. Workplace grief wellness and vicarious trauma programming for healthcare settings is an almost entirely unbuilt market. A half-a-day provider wellness workshop built around vicarious trauma education, integrative healing tools, and peer support infrastructure can be delivered to hospital units, hospice organizations, pediatric practices, and school nursing programs.
Yeah.
You price consulting engagement starting from $1,500 up to $3,000 per session, depending on how big the team is that you're teaching. This is a service that sits inside nursing expertise that you already have. You don't need an MBA. You need the research which we provided and a framework which you can build, and the willingness to walk into a room full of nurses who have been told to suck it up and tell them the truth. Jean's grief model is a clinical example of this model exactly. We'll have the link below. You can study it, build your own version, email her, ask her how she's implemented it, how she's worked around pushback, and what kind of other stakeholders she's needed on the team to get it through. The nurses on those units are waiting for someone to show up and say, you matter too.
Yeah, for me, it was in the primary care setting because I was like, when I returned back to work, my very first patient was a patient that I had known, and she was coming in for a follow-up appointment, and I was checking in with her, and I asked her about her family, and she shared that her mother had died. And I was taken aback because I knew her mother was young, and I thought, "What happened?" You know, and she shared with me briefly, and I questioned her. I said, "How are you grieving?" And she looked at me and said, "What do you mean?" I I don't know what you mean by that. And it hit me like a ton of bricks, like, my God, I'm sitting here processing my own grief. How are our kids? How are our patients? And I work with teenagers. How are they grieving the loss of their loved ones? And so that got me to really become more curious about grief and how do we as healthcare providers, how do we address grief in our primary care setting with our patients? So, yeah, just got the ball rolling. And
Mhm.
and then at the same parallel time, I had become more involved in an organization that work with young people who are grieving. And I learned so much through this organization. So it's just
Mhm.
it just really created a need. And I saw the need, and I'm just like, this got to be addressed.
Yeah, are you talking about the Went Center?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, and it's interesting that you brought up primary care because Anthony, he also mentioned them as being really instrumental in having the conversation, and I can only imagine our primary care providers are already overwhelmed with the amount of things that we want them to intervene with and
Yeah.
implement. Just like every idea that comes through the hospital, they want the nurse to carry out, right? And that's where our healthcare entrepreneurs can play a pivotal role because
Pivotal role.
those two people are already pushed beyond their limits.
They're pushed beyond their limits. So it's like, let's provide them resources so they know where to go. Like, if this kid is grieving, let's not just dismiss it. Let's check in with them, see how they're doing, and provide resources for them. That's so important.
And the data backs this up. Now, a pediatric grief navigation, this could be a structured program that includes grief screening at well visits, referrals to community grief programs like the Went Center, caregiver support check-ins, that could be an app, and optional integrative wellness add-ons. Not only could it be an app, it could be a specialized GPT, which you can build over the weekend. This is just answering all their questions that they have. Okay. Can be built as a self-pay or grant-funded service within an existing primary care mental health service practice. If you go to the small business loans and the grants, the government is probably already looking for this. You already have the expertise. The two of you get together, they pay you. That's a check you don't have to fight insurance for, and patients get the care they need. Now, a monthly grief wellness package for a bereaved family, including one provider visit, one group referral, and a caregiver support call, you can structure that from $150 to $200 per month. Jean's building something like this. You can do the same thing. Our community already needs you.
Yes, it's well needed.
Now, let's talk about healing. This is for our caregivers, our parents, the grandmothers raising children after a loss, right? That grandmother's already been through for several decades. And here we are asking them to pick up the mantle again. Now, the nurses who go home and you have no one to debrief with, the people who hold everyone else together and put themselves last. We've been talking about grief and what it costs children. Now I want to talk about what it costs adults who love them. And one thing the evidence says that can actually help: plant medicine. Today we're going to talk about lemon balm. I've told you me and my mom are studying clinical herbalism. So every month we hyper focus on one herb, learn as much as we can, use it in multiple ways. This month it's lemon balm. And there's lots of data to support it. In a randomized controlled trial that was published in 23, they looked at 100 people. And remember that randomized control trial is gold standard, right? People are placed in groups by chance to see if a real treatment worked better than a fake pill. Now, participants took 400 milligrams of lemon balm a day in a capsule for 3 weeks. They felt less stressed, less worried, less sad, and they slept much better too. Mild stomach upset, which can be related to anxiety, was noted in some people, but no serious side effects. And a second randomized controlled trial published in Trauma Monthly looked at 36 people taking lemon balm tea for just 20 days. Now, myself, I've looked at all the research and I've seen across the lifespan that it can be really safe. So it can help with anxiety, it can help with depression, it can help you fall asleep better and help you get into more deeper sleep. It can also act on your stomach and your gut so that it can also help address kind of the stomach upset that comes with anxiety. And unlike pills, which kind of alter your body system, they help your body do what it's supposed to do naturally. And so the longer you take it, the more benefits that you see, because plant medicine is slow medicine. So you do have to give it time. Depending on where those herbs come from, how they're stored determines the potency and so when you have a plant, it has medicinal properties. Well, how do I get those properties out of there? That's called extraction. And those properties are called constituents. So depending on how they were prepared will determine how potent they are and how much you should take. And so it works on all over your body, which I love. Now your brain, because when we give you a pill, it's to help one thing and this thing and this thing. And they're not working together, kind of like the healthcare team. That's why you need that navigator, that nurse navigator.
Yeah.
Now, your brain has a system that tells your body to slow down and relax. But when you're grieving or caregiving around the clock, that system gets overwhelmed. Jean just used that word. Your body stays on high alert. Your heart races. You can't sleep. You can't turn off your mind. Lemon balm helps wake up that part of your brain that says, it's okay to rest now. It doesn't knock you out. It doesn't make you foggy. It just, like some of our medications, it helps your body, like Benadryl, melatonin, Ambien, right?
Yeah.
It just helps your body find its way back to calm the way it's supposed to. The same way, actually, we already in our community, a lot of time, that's the episode that came out today when we were talking about sleep. Our community tends to use cannabis a lot for sleep. I believe people are drinking every day when they come home because they want rest and they want to decrease their stress. And the alcohol industry has just been a brilliant marketing campaign. And so they've taught you so much about alcohol, how it makes you happy, how you can use it when you're sad, how you can use it to celebrate, how you can use it to congratulate someone. They made it easily accessible that when you think, I need a solution to my stress, I need a solution to my rest, there it is. It's right there. It's so easy. But I think at the end of the day, everybody wants to rest and everybody wants to get rid of that stress that they've had for the day.
Absolutely. Everybody wants to be rested, feel safe. I think that's the key.
Yeah.
So,
and we mentioned cannabis and we talked about palliative. We have done an episode on using medical cannabis for cancer patients specifically with Ashley Wynn Grimes. And so we'll link that in the description box too, because it can help with a lot of the symptoms that our cancer patients are going through that a lot of times providers aren't comfortable prescribing because of the side effects and the respiratory depression. And so cannabis in particular can help with that anxiety, this poor appetite, this poor sleep, nausea, right? Just that one option. And depending on where you live, because here in Texas, it's not widely used. But when I was working in DMV, it was standard care. It was easily accessible and no one questioned it. So the lemon balm, it wakes up that part of your brain that says it's okay to rest. It doesn't knock you out. It doesn't make you foggy. This is for our residents, our surgeons who are also going through this. You're losing patients on your table too, okay? It just helps your body find its way back to calm the way it's supposed to be. That is why the research shows improvement in worry, mood, and sleep all at the same time because they're all connected.
Yeah, I appreciated that information that you provided yesterday.
Okay, so where can you get it? Now, if you walk to a grocery store and you pick up a box of lemon balm tea off the shelf, it is a good place to start, right? This is new to you, you've never heard of it, you can try it out. But like I said, where you get it, how it's stored, matters in terms of the potency. Now, grocery store tea is great for the general public. The strength will vary. You don't always know how much of the plant is actually in the bag. what you get from a local apothecary. Now, this is an herbal medicine shop by someone trained in plant medicine. It's a different level of expertise. That plant has been chosen very carefully. The preparation is going to be stronger and more consistent, and the person behind the counter can help you find out which form is right for you. If you've never been to one, I want you to find, the idea is that you find your local herbalist, get to know them and support them, and they'll support you too. You're having this problem, they don't have that herb, they'll order it for you. And of course, you keep another small business in business. It's one of the most underused resources in our community in particular, because when I talk about medicinal herbs, people bring up cannabis every time. And I say, oh yeah, I forgot that is part of it, but I want, because there's a lot of stigma still on cannabis, I don't want people to run away at the sound of herbs. And if you think about your kitchen, even the way we describe herbs, depending on what we do for a living, culinary herbs are things that only taste and smell good, right? Because it's going to go on your plate. You're going to eat it. It's a restaurant. They want you to spend money. They don't want to give you something that has a bad smell, even though it might be really good for you. So even if you talk to like a chef, their term for herbs is much different than what we're talking about to heal your body. Now, lemon balm comes in several forms. For tea, and we're going to put a screenshot up here, 1 to 2 teaspoons and 8 ounces of water. You can make it like a hot cup of tea. You don't want to make it boiling because then you can kind of destroy those medicinal properties. Or what I love to do is you just put it in your cup or in a teapot that I have. You want to cover it because when it starts to vaporize, you don't want to lose the medicine. And in Texas, I just sit it out here in the hot sun. That's called a solar infusion, where it just warms from the daylight. Multiple ways you can do this. I usually do about 4 or 5 in the evening, and I'll drink it about 8 or 9 at night. And just preparing the tea and watching it turn colors and drinking it is relaxing. Like, it brings me down too,
Yeah.
And the smell, like aromatherapy, this is part of the integrative health, the wellness that we're talking about. The smells, the sights, the sound, all of that is stimulating your nervous system, and you can you're already getting stimulated by the disease that you're going through, the conversations that you're having, what you're watching your loved one go through, what you're watching your patients go through. And so this is another way you can kind of take control of that. And so we'll put up a screenshot here on different ways you can consume it, and we'll be talking about it more in the future. And then our last takeaway for our entrepreneurs is an integrative grief wellness package. This includes your caregiver intake visit. You can give them some lemon balm and a sleep hygiene consultation, a written care plan, and a 30-day check-in call. You can offer this again as self-pay, added on to any primary or mental health care practice. You can price this around $175 to $225 for the package. It's accessible for most families and highly differentiated in a market where most providers hand a grieving caregiver a pamphlet and we send them home. You're not replacing a therapist. You're filling in a space between what the therapist does and what the family lives every single day. So we're going to wrap up here, Jean.
Wow.
Let's see. How can we support you?
Well, I can share with you that with Julian, we have started, we have a scholarship fund in Julian's name every year at his church, our church, Woodstream Church. We provide an educational scholarship to a student going off to college studying in a major of psychology, because that was Julian's major. He graduated from Hampton University, psychology, and his goal was to become a psychologist.
Yeah.
So that's one way I would love to receive support to, we started his foundation, and it's really under A Space to Breathe. And it's just honoring him and his legacy and all the work that he's done, because Julian, he believed in gratitude. That's the one thing that really kept me in awe, was he would say gratitude was his superpower. And it's one thing to be in gratitude when things are going well, but what about the times when things are not going according to plan? My son never imagined being 25, 26 years old, battling lung cancer, and he still stayed in gratitude. And it was just something to witness and see. It just really taught me a lot. He showed me so much. And so I just want his legacy to just continue, because even his last days, he prayed. He said, "Mom, we all have mountains to climb, Mine just happened to be lung cancer.
Mhm.
So I just want everybody to know, like, you are not alone.
Yeah.
And to do that, we just have a foundation in honor of Julian. And take a look at his Instagram page. It's very encouraging. Um, yeah,
Now, is that an official nonprofit?
it's official nonprofit, yes.
I love it. So talking about taking care of each other in the community, I just came back from LA where I spoke at the Black Women for Wellness about my research initiative on fibroids, keloids, and CCCA, and I had the pleasure of meeting an attorney in LA who lives here in Houston, and
Okay.
she's a nonprofit attorney, and she's actually in the. We talked about the pollution earlier. She's actually in the environmental beauty justice space, like how the environment and everything impacts our health outcomes. So when I talk about the community, and we all can't do everything, we all have our own roles to play. I can tell you about air pollution, but I'm not an expert in air pollution, and I can't even tell you what to do about it. But she can. And so what I'm doing to all my entrepreneurs is introducing her to them so that
Oh,
not
wow.
only, build a structurally, because nonprofit is a real business too, and so you can have a structurally sound organization, find out all the resources that are available for you too, and also how can we do this work together?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll introduce the two of you.
Thank you. I definitely appreciate that.
I didn't even know it existed. It's one of those things like, how would you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Any other things you want to let the audience know?
Um, there's so much to be shared.
Just on how they can support you, how they can reach out if they have any questions, if they want to invite you to speak.
Yes, if you want to reach out, please reach out. My email, I can give two different emails. One is Jean Fletcher at a space to breathe .care.
Is that your business?
That's my business.
That's the only one you need to give out.
Okay.
That's a good one. I like that one. That's easy to remember too.
Yes.
Because like we're using the word overwhelmed, that exists as an entrepreneur too, right? And you already have multiple emails.
Yeah.
So let's start to divert the traffic in a direction that when we get help and support, it's already there for them.
Thank you. I love your advice. I just love it.
Yeah, that makes it easy. When it's the business email and you get help, you feel comfortable sharing that account information or forwarding things from that account, and it makes it easy to keep things streamlined. When you get a team, when you talk to your lawyer, when you talk to your attorney, you don't have to go searching 5 different places, and that reduces the overwhelm. The work hasn't changed, but how you operate shifts dramatically.
Yes. Yeah. That's yeah.
All right. So let me give everyone their homework. If you're a patient or caregiver, we want you to look up low-dose CT lung cancer screening guidelines. We have put up those screenshots for you. If you're over 50, lung cancer runs in your family, you have a chronic lung condition, or you live near heavy traffic or industry, bring that to your next appointment and ask, do I qualify for a lung cancer screening? If you have a cough that will not go away and everyone is brushing it off, ask for the scan. It's your insurance. And if you're grieving or caregiving, consider lemon balm tea as one small daily tool for rest. And tell me about it. If you're a nurse practitioner or nurse and one grief screening question, you only need to add one grief screening question to your pediatric well visits. Ask the child, ask the caregiver. If a child lost a parent or sibling, that's clinical data point. It belongs in your intake. Jean's created a continuing education model on addressing grief in primary care settings. And when you email her, she can send it to you. Yes. If you're seeing patients with persistent respiratory symptoms, do not let age or smoking status be your only filter. The evidence says non-smokers are at real and documented risk. If you're an entrepreneur, especially in healthcare, 3 revenue streams came out of our conversation today. A lung cancer risk screening and navigation visit. This is a billable wellness visit. Your community needs it. A shame-informed cancer support and mental health co-management package. Self-pay $250 to $350 per visit, and there's no competition. And actually, speaking of no competition, you know what I saw on LinkedIn? Someone created an urgent care, primary care business. Wasn't that brilliant?
That really is.
Very brilliant, very brilliant.
Yeah. Wow.
Yes, we need that one. Now, a pediatric grief and integration caregiver wellness package, anywhere from $150 to $225. It's grant fundable and a service that does not exist in most communities. You don't need more training or another certification. You just need to take action.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's see. Destiny. Her mother wasn't reckless. She wasn't unlucky in some random way. She was a Black woman in a system that just wasn't designed to catch lung cancer in someone who looked like her and never smoked. The provider who dismissed Julian and called it a zebra, meaning impossible. The research says it's the 5th leading cause of cancer death in the world. Those two things cannot both be true. One of them is the data. One of them is a bias that cost family their person. Destiny found her way to a grief counselor through her school's health center, one who had completed Jean's continuing education model on pediatric grief in primary care. The counselor didn't try to fix her. She asked Destiny one question: has anyone ever given you permission to grieve? And Destiny said no. That was the beginning. Her little brother joined a grief group at their church. Their grandmother started drinking lemon balm tea every night before bed. She sleeps now, not perfectly, but she sleeps. Destiny's mother was not failed by her body. She was failed by our system that didn't ask the right questions soon enough. That changes when we have the information we provided here today. Lung cancer in non-smokers is the 5th leading cause of cancer death in the world, and Black women face a documented 66% gap in who gets offered screening. That's it, screening. Diagnostic delay is real. It's documented, and advocating for a scan is not overreaching. It is your health literacy. Children grieve whether we help them or not. One question at a well visit can be the beginning of a child's healing. Yes. And for caregivers carrying all of it, lemon balm, 3 randomized controlled trials, and a cup of tea before bed is a place to start. Just so you can think clearly, think through everything, and then have the conversation, be able to ask for the help that you need. Mm-hmm. And here's what I want you to do next. Share this episode with just one person who needs to hear it. Someone in your circle is Destiny. Someone in your circle is Julian. Yeah. Send them to this today. Remember, you can email us your questions and show ideas to tmi.melanin@gmail.com. If you haven't already, you can still subscribe, leave us a thumbs up, a comment or two, and give us a review on Apple and Spotify. At the time of this recording, we release new episodes every Saturday at 8 a.m. Eastern on YouTube and LinkedIn. And of course, we drop the audio on your favorite podcast, Apple, Spotify at 5 a.m. So all of our night shifters can be the first to get something and not the last. We thank you, Jean, once again for being here, for showing us what it looks like to live through grief. And we thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time. And happy birthday to Julian.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.